All right, hello. So today I should have enough memory on my phone or in my phone to maybe make a little bit longer video. Even though I will try to be as clear as possible, or maybe it's gonna be shorter, maybe longer. So just bear with me, okay? Whoever wants to, of course. Nothing is of forced nature here. Whatever you want to do. So, I want to address some issues because just right now I was listening to somebody. I'm not gonna mention them because it doesn't matter. But anyways, they were talking about some issues about Luciferian governments and rise of the Lucifer and Satan. And just heads up, they're not Christians. Okay, so they're just using these terms because, in the sense, many other people who discuss religion and philosophies on spirituality and spirituality itself, as science, they refer to these figures or these spirits or the nature of these figures in the written about in books and all sorts of literature. So to head back to the whole point. Look, for many years I tried to explain to the best of my abilities, okay, as it goes from me talking in this foreign language, which kind of limits a lot of what I have to say, but that's the deal. Anyways, whoever wants to hear it, whoever has the ears to hear that and the will to accept it and do with that information whatever they want to do and operate by that knowledge, knowing that, by that knowing, that's up to them. All right, so I'm sure anybody or everybody can find something in it, something useful for themselves to understand these things better and these phenomenon, of what's happening in life, about these opposing forces apparently battling each other. So this is my point. This has always been my point, and it's getting to be more and more my point in life, especially now in these times, that I always call upon accountability of individuals as parts or particulates of this whole or all or one, however you want to call it, because I see a lot of pointing fingers at Luciferian government, demonic government, satanic government, satanic individuals, evil people, evil organizations, evil this, that. There's always somebody on the outside that is evil. There's always somebody on the outside that wants to corrupt your spirit, wants to corrupt your life, wants to destroy you, wants to control you because they're psychopaths, because they don't know how else to live, because that's what they feed off of, seeing that you are, that you fall into this submission to their power. That's how they see the reflection of their power, and that's, they jerk off on that, and it's like, wow, whoa, amazing, remove that from your life immediately, okay? Not saying that to force it on you, but if you ever want to understand life, if you ever want to understand yourself and the totality of yourself, which is an all-encompassing, truth of you, stop with these separation tactics. This had been given to many people, or to most people in life, that they fall for this nonsense, so they can always point something outside of themselves and say, you see, that's why my life is in ruins, that's why I cannot be free, that's why I can't live the way I want to, that's why I can't do the things that I want to. And of course there's always somebody up there that we need to say, it's because of this fucker there, okay? So there's a lot of things that I cannot do, that I cannot live my life in a way that I would want to, which is in peace, which is in consideration with all my surroundings, because there's simply people around me who don't give a fuck about anything around them and about anybody that's near them, you know? So listen, this consciousness imposes rules on itself, imposes certain limitations on itself, imposes, and when I'm saying this consciousness means this consciousness that is just about anything and everything and everybody and anybody at any time, any given time, and all given time, and no time, outside time. You see where I'm going with this? It's constantly there, and it's you can't avoid it. You cannot dismiss it. You can't. I mean, you can try to, and you can pretend, because then that's that consciousness trying to trick itself, okay, into yet another delusion, yet into another idea of separation. It wants to separate itself from itself, which is in itself. Do you hear it? It's nonsense. It can't work. So every such bit of this consciousness is destined to run in a full circle right back to the beginning where it started, and it's never going to reach anything else. It's never going any higher, any lower, anywhere. It's going to constantly stagnate, because that's an impossibility. Impossibility. Do you know what that means? It's impossible. It doesn't matter what you try, how much you try to convince yourself into it. It does not happen. It cannot happen. Impossible. So, it's getting hot in the car. Give me a second. Let's tamp down. Finally, we're having some warmer days in Washington, around Seattle, which I don't oppose. I was pretty much against that crazy heat, which was very abnormal, you know. But then we had rain, not much rain actually, very little. But we had these gloominess lurking around, and it's not very nice. So it's nice for this heat to come back, but just, you know, it's not that hot. It's hot in the car, of course. Anyways, to go on. When you point fingers like that and you say, aha, so I heard these two people discussing, and listen, these two people, okay, at least one of them who was a guest, they know a lot. They actually know a lot. They're very, very known individuals in the circle of truthers, in the circle of, you know, people who have explored the tricks and the delusions of the matrix, or, you know, the supposed reality that, you know, it's coming out to all be one big fat lie, supported or basically based upon thousands, if not millions, of little lies, you know. And so these, especially this one person out of the two, is very, very known, had toured around the world preaching their stuff, was in raw food community, then ventured out in all sorts of other fields of alternative ways of being healthy, staying sane, you know, even financially being more responsible and successful, you know, all sorts of stuff. And they along the way also made some nice profit for themselves and some nice more comfortable life, which I totally do not envy, and I think it's their right, and I think they totally deserve it if, you know, they're passing out so much knowledge and so much information to other people that can then help themselves. Because that's the whole point, right? That's why we do this. That's why I have these talks, so that, you know, you can look within, you can kind of look outside and then within and figure out, am I really being sincere with myself? Am I really being honest with myself? Is it honest or sincere of me to expect this and this and these things from the world, where I am this and this and this way? Alright, so they touched this topic on, I don't know, apparently, you know, Lucifer was born, I don't know in what time, and then now the Antichrist is gonna appear, they believe that it's gonna actually be in a physical form as like a person, as like maybe, you know, taken upon a human form, and they even suspect that maybe it's gonna be, you know, cross transgender, you know, I don't know. And apparently that person was already born. You know, some predicted back in the past. Some writers, some spiritual, you know, philosophers or philosophers of spirituality, they announced and they were talking about how this person will be born in the 21st century. Not in the 20th century, with me, the 20th century. Which means they apparently are here already, right? I mean, that's would be something, you know. I don't know, what's that, a younger generation or one of the millennials when they get up and rise to power and then they will turn the world upside down? Okay, let's look at this. First of all, the perception of evil, the perception of Satan or Luciferian figure is very, very flawed, extremely flawed in this world. Very, 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 like, just so false, so extremely false. You have these religious people who believe that God, who is all loving and has this enormous, basically an infinite amount of compassion, infinite amount of understanding, you know, infinite amount of knowing and basically, you know, having this, the most intimate knowledge on every human on earth, in everything that existed and everything this God, this creator created, you know, made into existence. Somehow on another hand, these, I don't know, just has somewhat outbursts of justice upon its own creatures or his own creatures, and then it just wipes them out or punishes them in various forms, various ways. But then the opposition who teaches, which is the devil, Lucifer, you know, Satan, demons, the army, satanic army. You know, it's like it's a lot of confusion about like who's who here. But anyways, let's just not my confusion on my part. So don't try to go here now like type to me who's what and when. I don't care. You can keep it to yourself. What I'm saying here is, let's focus on the evil part, the evil, so-called evil. How the perception of this evil is extremely flawed. Now, so this creator has these outbursts of justice, so-called justice, you know, upon the flaws of the creations that he made, he created, knowingly that they will have these flaws. So what? The creator created the flaws as well? I mean, obviously, he created flawed products, flawed creatures. And then what? Goes and punish them for those flaws that were already in the you know what, the design itself, in the blueprint of these creatures. This makes no sense, guys. Makes absolutely no sense. And I don't care how what a like you know, what a, I don't know, what a passionate believer you are in God and God's work and all this stuff. It's ridiculous. You have to succumb at some point to some logic and some common sense. Even the knowing within you will tell you that that does not measure up to any kind of truth. That's a total deception. That's a great deception. That God has these outbursts of this justice. It waits about this much time, and then he says all right, well, I gave him a chance. You know, those flaws worked against them that I created or that I allowed to be there, and now screw them, I'll wipe them out. But before that, I'm gonna punish a few. So just for as an example, then you will know what happens when they piss me off with these flaws. I know, we could go into details, and some of you religious folks could come to me and start explaining to me how everything you find to be working and why and how so. And listen, You can bring just about any justification of these nonsensical ideas that you want, but they don't stand any ground. So and they don't hold any water. All right, and there's a lot of water to be held right here. Okay, so don't even try. It doesn't even. It's not gonna pan out in any way successfully on that part. It never did. You're just running in circles, repeating same old ideas that do not make sense and that in reality in life do not work. Okay, so to move on now into this, opposition, right? Opposition is what? Opposition was there to challenge God on these barriers, right? On these control mechanisms, because God apparently was very controlling. That's what, I'm gonna go by this Christian, philosophy. And there's also other religions that talk about a very, very similar concepts. How God created these creatures, and then limited them in a certain environment, by certain parameters and by certain rules, certain, house rules, if you wanna call them that way, right? House rules, garden rules, land rules, and it said, okay, you can be here, this is all yours, but do not touch these, do not eat from here, do not do that, abstain from this, from that, blah blah blah. Okay, and then you will be happy. Great. So then comes the opposition and says, hey, wait a second, this is where a lot of you have a very flawed understanding. The opposition comes. The opposition wants to challenge God's stance on all these control mechanisms and say, hey, what are you doing? Why don't you give them total freedom? And God said, no, because I know they will hurt themselves. The freedom is not going to help them. So then, the opposition, the devil, Satan, Luciferian figure, says, yeah, but it's not fair. So you must not trust your creation. Your creation must be very flawed, that you would limit them so hard that you basically prohibit them from enjoying what power they have, the total absolute power that you deposited within them to basically be just like you. So why don't you trust them? And you're saying I'm making stories, right? Making stories up. I'm not making them up. I'm here examining the logic of this argument here. So now you have this opposition who comes to the earth, because it was kicked out of the heavens, because God said, all right, look, in my domain, this is how things go. You want to have your world, create your world, and then you do that stuff with your world. But I will not allow you to challenge my authority in my world. So you have rebelled. You want to do these things. You want to tempt, and you want to basically lead my creation astray. Go ahead. You're kicked out, and you're not going to do this where I am. So now God separated himself from his creation, which Satan, Luciferian figure, the demons and all that stuff also is. By the way, there's nothing separate. Please start understanding these things. There's no separation. So whatever God is, parts of these God are in everything. Okay? The essence of these God are also in the Luciferian figures, are also in demons, are also, those that are accountable for the creation of Satan and Lucifer themselves. Now, they go to the earth, and guess what they do? They start teaching humans about the bad stuff. So basically they start helping humans. They're like, look, you can make a gun, and then you can shoot somebody with a gun, you can kill them. Yeah, but is that not a sin? Wait a second, I'm going to be punished. Hey, that's not Satan's business. He does not care. What he cares about is that you have the ability to do that. And he wants to explore that ability in you. Listen. If I know that you can steal, I always give this example. You are prone to stealing. You are prone to, you know, wanting and desiring certain things because you're, you know, there's selfishness in you. I know that there's a flaw in you, which is selfishness. And so when you want something really bad, a lot of times you get impatient, right? Because if you can't get it right away, you get extremely impatient about it. That's not only you, that's me, that's just about anybody in this world. I mean, everybody. Forget it. That flaw is in everybody. So this selfishness sometimes prevails, and you go to very, excessive ways to attain what you really, really want to possess and experience. Okay. So if I know that flaw is there, and I help you explore it and say, hey, you want that kind of car? I found it. It's around that block. You walk half a mile, you know, and it's always parked there. And I know the owner. The owner doesn't leave their house, you know, every day from, 8 p.m. to like 7 a.m. So you got like a big window of time, and research what kind of tools you need, and then I direct you to certain tools, how you will do the job. So now you go, and you're a dumbass because you're like, wow, that's my best friend right there. He's just came in the right time to help me get what I really, really want to have. But I can't get it right now any other way. So this has to be the way. And he gave me the way, so that's my ally. Alright, you go and do this stupid thing, right? Then you get caught. And then you say, yeah, this motherfucker. You know, I should have never listened to him. Listen, you didn't listen to him. By the way, be honest. You didn't listen to him. You listened to yourself. And not even yourself. You didn't listen to yourself. So I will correct myself, but I'm steering you away from him. From that figure, from that position of so-called power that is upon you and is controlling you and limiting you, right? No, that figure or that, side is giving you all you want and any time you want it. Or at least giving you the tools. Not really those things, but the tools how to get them. How to get those things, how to get those experiences that you so want that you don't care about what the cost is. You will go to any length to get to them and, grab them when the chance is there. Snatch them. Alright, so whether that be your neighbor's, wife or your neighbor's husband or your neighbor's car, or your neighbor's house, or, some stranger's shoes, or, I don't know, somebody's wallet on the train or a bus, you'll go for it. You'll snatch it because you want that so badly that you don't care who you're going to hurt, how much damage you're going to cause, what kind of, problems that will cause you. At that moment, you don't care. All you are driven by is that greed. And greed is that fear that you will not have these things. You heard me? It's the fear that you will never be able to possess that object of your desire and never get to experience it. And so you're in a rush because you think you're running out of time. So, at the end you say, this motherfucker, I should have never listened to him. What a fucking asshole, You didn't listen to him. Neither did you listen to yourself, to your actual common sense, to your true self, which was warning you, don't do that. It's not that important. You don't need it. You want it, but you don't need it. If you needed it, you would have it right now. Okay? All your needs are always satisfied, always fulfilled, if only you are in the right place, which means being the person you're supposed to be and listening, being aligned with yourself, with your actual inner pure intent. Okay? That means being clean within, not carrying these evil thoughts within you and these selfish, this fear basically, not being fearful of life and being fearful of situations you're in and circumstances. So So you didn't listen to him, you didn't listen to yourself, you listened to that fear, you listened to the flaw, you gave into that flaw, you gave into that black hole within you that was not filled up. That hole was left there because it was supposed to be explored and filled up. Now, is that really that bad that you had to experience that? To say to yourself, what a fucking asshole I am at the end? Because I'm the one who caused this, regardless of who taught me or who pushed me or who, directed me that way. No, at the end of all, you come to a realization that more trouble you cause, more shit you call upon yourself. At the end of all, it is you. At the end of all, it is you who opened the door and invited that in. Had you not opened the door, that would not happen. Now, also, if you did not open your door, you wouldn't have that experience, so you wouldn't understand yourself in that way. Now, sometimes you go through a lot of trauma, a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of bad times, a lot of struggle, even cruelty, to come to that conclusion that you can't blame anybody else but yourself for the circumstances that you succumb to. I'm not saying that, circumstances are always favorable to you. I'm not saying that. Yes, sometimes there's shitty times. Sometimes you're surrounded by shitty people. Sometimes you're surrounded by, you're basically on thin ice, skating. And, the ice may break. You may get under the ice and maybe even drown. However, there is always an option, always a chance that doesn't happen. That doesn't go all the way. So that then you do have a chance, an opportunity to realize something about yourself, something very valuable. And even when you die, even if that does result in your death, or the death of this avatar, this body, this unit, it's like a biological, psychological unit, psychobiological unit, then you never know until you are at that door, what somebody's gonna drive into my trunk. It's some lady, I don't know what's her deal, but anyways, I'm moving away so she can go by me, but now she's still behind me, and now she's gonna pass me on the right side. These people are so crazy. Anyway, so it's like, okay, she tried to exit the freeway and was sort of blocked in, not intentionally, but sometimes people do really weird stuff. Maybe they should prep themselves before they get to the last moment when they have to exit the freeway, and they should change their lanes and think about it beforehand. Because that's dangerous. Some don't do such stuff, because sometimes you cross vehicles that can't stop as fast as a normal car, because there was a big truck behind us, and she was just weaving, in between me and them, and like some weird stuff, and I had no idea where she tried to go. Because she wasn't very clear with the direction. So pay attention on the road, be careful. These days, sometimes we are very distracted by a lot of stuff, by phones, and, keep your watch looking into all the mirrors and around to the windows and stuff. Sometimes you also turn around when you're changing lanes, because sometimes your mirrors don't show you everything. So be very watchful for such stuff, mindful, Don't just rely on certain angles, or certain angles are usually not covered as much as you would want them to be, so that you would be safe. So to get back to that, how these forces work, see, they're never against you. They really are never against you. They really are just providing the experience for you to go as deep as you want to go, okay? They cast a net, and if you fall into it, then you explore, what's the deal? How deep did you go? Can you come back out, or you went too deep this time? And what I was saying is, when you die, there's no telling what you experience and realize in that moment, which could be a millisecond. You don't know that. We can't say, oh, this person died and, they never paid for it, they never realized things, death came too early. We don't know that. We have no idea what that person experienced in that last, because you gotta understand, like, we are here dealing, especially myself, I always emphasize there is no time. This time thing, this is such an illusion. And you tell me, well, don't you have to rush to get to your job at certain time? Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, we accept a certain, bounds and certain, laws that we have in this reality, which time is one of them, of course, but in actual absolute reality, where there's no separation, there is no time. Time doesn't exist. So for somebody that is dying, that are facing death because they're about to crash into, I don't know, with a car crash underneath a truck or something, and their death is imminent, there is no way to avoid it. You don't know in that millisecond when the time stops for them what they're experiencing and what they're going through and what they realize, what their soul, what their essence, what their consciousness that was deposited in that avatar, what it went through, in what kind of profound experience that is. You don't know until you are there. And some of you, I know for one person that follows me quite consistently, was there and almost departed, and they know that, that brought them to the brink of all sorts of realizations, and some of them were not realized yet, even up to this day, even though that happened years ago. And remember, you're still processing your consciousness. That piece within you is still processing what actually happened, and so some of those things are realized on a subconscious level. Some of them are even on unconscious level, on those you can never learn, those you can never understand with your reason and logic, okay? But they are there, they are operating, and they are making you the person you are today. The way you think, the way you respond to things, the way you react to your environment, and the way you see the circumstances of your life. So now, you see, this is very flawed to think, now this Antichrist is going to come and he's going to corrupt the world and he's going to be so terrible, such a terrible creature. Like, what if it's opposite? What if this is the creature that punishes, not God having outbursts? What if this is the one that says, hey, you dumbass, I gave you this option and you took it. You're stupid. You are not worthy of God. You're not worthy of this existence in that way. You should be punished. You should suffer because you are too fearful, too greedy to ever become an actual fully grown human, being capable of humanity. You see that? See how I twisted this concept completely? 100%. 300, 180, not 360, because then I get back to it. So 180, you see? A total swift turn. What if this is the person that will actually execute real justice? I always say that there is no if, that this is actually the reality of this figure. I've been standing behind this for many, many years, and I still not long ago explained to my own